Good afternoon, traders and investors. Will back here with another one. Guys, we do now finally have some nice, decent daily bounces underway on a lot of our major names here. So we're going to take a look at that today. We're going to take a look at our major indexes as usual, our major tech names, and lastly, go over my portfolio. But decent day as a whole on the markets led by tech. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. So as you can see, guys, up 0.65% on the SPY today, up 1.61% on the NASDAQ. Decent outperformance by our NASDAQ bulls. Take a look on the heat map here. You will see that the market was entirely led by the tech sector, right? So not that much good market breadth today, but it's always good that technology takes the lead after such a negative impact here over the last couple weeks. It's very nice to see finally some outperformance after technology has really been one of our major market losers over the past week and a half. So a bit of a switch up here. You can see on the one-day relative here, technology, big outperformance here, led second by consumer, cyclical, and communication services. Those are just our secondary technology sectors here and there. So guys, what are we set up as? Well, on Friday's video, I was telling you, right? We were looking at the lower time frames here. We were trying to find, can this continue in the hourly uptrend into a Monday bounce? Well, the answer is yes. So now step one is complete. We have our hourly uptrends, and also we have our 4-hour uptrends, right? So 4-hour uptrends usually means that your daily bounces are underway. So that's what we can see at SPY here, right? The last area of support was 431. Right down here, didn't quite get to there before we start moving to the upside. Have a bit of mean reversion, right? We're getting far away from this 12 EMA, this yellow line right here, and now we're kind of moving back into it. However, it is still a daily downtrend, and all we're looking for is a lower high. Anything below 449 pretty much will just be your lower high for potential continuation of the downside. Now, key note here, guys. Measure the size of the bounce. If we bounce all the way up here, all the way up to our 12 EMA, right? It's not gonna be too bad. If we put the fib on this right here, right? The 12 EMA will be almost pretty much your 618 level. So that is a decent enough bounce, right? The bulls will have taken back 62% of the move if they can make it back up here. That is a decent sized bounce. It sets up the space for a potential daily trend change reversal. We're going to take it one day at a time, but looking decent so far. Obviously, tomorrow and the rest of the week, we can just flush and we would not be surprised. Why? Because we are in daily downtrends, and that is the expectation. We're in weekly consolidation as well, right? So we could just continue to the downside, and I would not be surprised. It all relies on the size of the bounce, so we're going to be watching that closely. QQQ. Same thing, right? Measure the size of the bounce. QQQ taking back a little bit more of the bounce than SPY currently. If we take it from our most recent high here, right? We're going to see that we're already up to that 618 level. This green line right here, you might not be able to see it. Let me zoom in. So this 618, this little line right here, we are already up there. If we would make it back to the 12 EMA on the QQQs, right, we would be probably arguably 70% of a take back by the bulls. So when you get such a decent sized bounce from the bulls, they can set up for the potential daily trend change. But once again, still in a daily downtrend. So we're still just looking for a lower high for continuation. That is the most likely scenario. It's up to the bulls to prove it to us. They want to change these daily trends. If they can change these daily trends, your weekly bounce will be underway as well, right? So just keep an eye on that, guys. We're going to take it one day at a time as usual. XLF bulls here with a decent amount of defense in my sweet spot pocket area down here, 33.90 all the way down to 33.50, this little green zone right here. Rejecting, as this area has proved to be good resistance in the past, it is now acting as good support. So XLF, we were always looking for the weekly higher low. Anything pretty much above here, 32.50, was just going to be your weekly higher low. So let's see if the bulls can start putting in a move like SPY and QQQ and start taking back some of this most recent downswing here. I want to see them be able to get up to these EMAs here, create enough space for a potential daily trend change. And if the daily trend change happens, you will know that your weekly higher low is set and that we're due for another weekly leg up. XLV Healthcare. Healthcare holding defense fairly well, right? You saw it on the weekly that I had pulled up here. Holding the moving averages, not too bad at all if I do say so myself, right? So still in the midst of a tightening range here. So what we're expecting here is pretty much a lower high below 136.39, looking to tighten up this range and eventually get a break to the upside because we do have a bullish bias. Why? Because our longer term time frames are still pointing to the upside. We're above our moving averages as well. on the weekly, and you guys just saw the monthly. So looking for the bulls, if this market can continue to put in a few more green days this week, just looking for a decent enough size bounce that we get a tightening range here and potentially a breakout to the upside. So very, very good job by healthcare of holding these levels right here. IWM Russell, excuse me, right? IWM Russell, first little bounce day with Friday was today. Even though it's a red day, recovered nicely intraday, right? So Russell not doing as well as the other indexes, right? Lost the daily uptrend again, but did not flush to our lower lows. So we're going to keep an eye on this, guys. IWM Russell, obviously our weaker sector on the day here, unfortunately, right? And they did take back, this is a very big downswing, guys, right? So the growth bulls have a lot of work to do to really put in a sizable bounce for that trend change. IWM still looking for the weekly higher low. So anything above 180.55 is still your weekly higher low, but I don't like how much of this move the bears have taken back. It sets up the scene for potentially something like healthcare, a potential tightening range, because V-shaping a move like this is going to take a heck of a broad market recovery to really give them the gas to do that. So my most likely scenario at this point is just going to be a tightening range because the bears have taken back way too much of that move. We'll take it one day at a time, but bulls looking like they do want to try and form a temporary bottom here. The market rolls over in the next few days. Well, we're targeting our support area down here. Crucial zone, guys. This 180, lower 180 pocket is absolutely crucial. If they lose that, you're going to lose the weekly uptrend. Not very good. Dow Jones names looking fairly healthy as well, guys, right? Rejecting from our lows today, intraday, and now we are kind of holding up the fort for weekly higher lows, right? We were looking for weekly higher lows, anything above 33,700. This line right here was just going to be for your weekly higher low. Playing good defense around the weekly 12 EMA and using this whole support area. I know it's a line, but it's actually a little range here, right? So we can move the line down all the way up to our peaks of our previous candles here, and that does follow through. So I'll give them a little bit of leeway with this, right? And say that we are still holding this whole relative area of support. Bulls doing a great job of playing some defense, looking nice, right? What I want to see, guys, is we want to put in enough of a bounce here. 35,400 is going to be the level to watch here. Want to see the bulls put in enough of a move, just like our other indexes, that we can reverse into a new daily uptrend. But as of now, the most likely scenario is just lower high and then flush more to the downside for a retest. If we can potentially get maybe a double bottom, or if the bears actually flush through, then weekly consolidation will still be underway. But bulls looking decent with the past 2 days of trading. Now, Bitcoin not doing a whole lot of anything, right? Since our massive drop here on Thursday, still consolidating at our lower levels here, guys. 24,500 here. This level right here down here, 24,700-ish is your key level that you cannot lose on Bitcoin here. Bitcoin still consolidating, absolutely losing weekly momentum altogether here. Bitcoin just consolidating at this point. The bulls have so much work to do on this, guys. You really need to see the daily trend change, kind of like our other markets, but crypto has just not been doing a whole lot of anything. I don't like it, especially even the crypto stock names like Coinbase or Mara or Riot, the crypto miners, right? Just not positioned well. Even though Coinbase got a nice little bump today, crypto is just not a favorable space for me at the moment. When it is, guys, I will tell you, but for now, have to really pretty much start from zero. They had a nice weekly bull flag going here. They completely lost it with this most recent move. So much work for Bitcoin to do. I'll provide you updates still on the daily. Now let's get into our big tech names, guys. Apple, decent recovery here out of our little zone here. This was the sweet spot zone, and I did make a play on it pretty much 2 weeks ago, not last week though. So Apple rejecting here, daily bounces looking like they're starting to be underway, right? 4-hour uptrend is confirmed. We'll see if we can carry that into tomorrow's trading and Wednesday above our short-term moving averages on the 4-hour. So guys, what are we looking for here on the daily, right? Well, our most recent leg down here was started at let's call it about 180, right? So need the bulls to put in enough of a move here to potentially set up for the daily trend change to the upside. If we get a daily trend change, your weekly move down will be complete and you'll finally start getting your weekly upswing, right? So we were always looking for a weekly higher low. Anything above 160 was just going to be that weekly higher low. Are they going to be able to set it here? Well, they're playing good defense in this area, but still not a convincing enough move for me yet. Need to see them get as high as possible to 180 so that we can potentially set up for the daily trend change. But so far, my little sweet spot here acting as some good levels of defense on Apple. I still like Apple in this area as a matter of fact. So if we continue to trade close to this range, I may still open a few positions and potentially grab some long shares for the long-term portfolio. AMD, massive recovery today, especially after Friday, right? AMD, I like how they've performed. This was largely led by NVIDIA. You guys saw, we'll cover it later, but NVIDIA, absolutely disgusting day today, leading into earnings, Tesla as well. So we're gonna see what happens with NVIDIA earnings on Wednesday, guys. This is, like I said, it's gonna make or break the market. Can NVIDIA save the market once again? We will see, and this will also play into AMD. So AMD doing good, guys. AMD doing good. 113.30 is the last level that the bears started this most recent leg down for, creating the daily downtrend here. So need bulls to put in enough of a move to create the daily trend change. I'd like to see them maintain above this 107 area. It's always provided as good defense in the past. AMD very close to my sweet zone, guys, right? So still some opportunity this week to be making some plays on the puts in the 104s down to the 100 area. We're still just looking to find our weekly bottoms here and reverse eventually this weekly, now unfortunate downtrend with last week into a weekly uptrend once more. That will take some time. The bulls have a lot of work to do to make that happen. But good start. I really like AMD in this area. And once again, my sweet spots really acting as good support. That's why I choose them, guys, because not only on a fundamental level do I find that these are relatively good valuations for these companies in light of most recent earnings, but on a technical basis, they do have long-term support areas. Amazon almost coming back with Friday's trading, almost with the gap fill here, all the way down to 130, right? Almost, but not quite. So Amazon, once again, daily downtrend was confirmed. So we are just looking for your lower high here for a potential flush. We need to get back above this whole support area between these two yellow lines, but bulls doing a good job here of creating some space with the daily bounce. You can see it on the 4-hour as well, right? 4-hour uptrend is now confirmed. We'll see if this maintains as the rest of our names into Tuesdays and Wednesdays trading. Obviously, Wednesday, a very big day because of NVIDIA. It's going to make a heavy impact on tech here. But Amazon on the weekly, what we're looking for, guys? A higher low, anything above 126 was just looking for your weekly higher low. Never quite got to the 12 EMA. So bulls playing some good defense here. The long-term bulls, monthly, weekly bulls are still in control. Now we have to recapture some of these daily uptrends. So I need to see the size of the bounce, need to create some space to set a higher low than our previous low, and then reverse the daily trend to the upside. Bulls still with a decent amount of work to do on all these charts, but looking decent for some bounces here, guys. Google also, same thing pretty much. Daily downtrend was confirmed on Friday. Able to bring it back a little bit, not closing below our 128 area. This yellow line here, very important area of support. So obviously not able to fill that gap with earnings as much as Amazon did. Google holding up better than most, if I do say so myself. On the weekly, what were we looking for, guys? Tons of space, anything above 116. Was just your weekly higher low, not quite making it to the 12 EMA as well. So just looking for your weekly higher low for potential upside continuation. Long-term bulls, that's why all my headlines and thumbnails last week were be patient, don't panic. Why? Because all the monthly bulls, the weekly bulls are still in control of most of these tech names, guys. So you got to give them some space to work with. Weekly consolidation was inevitable on all these names. So it's nice to see that now the bulls are finally putting their foot down and starting to respect some of our technical levels here. So bulls looking fairly decent. But once again, guys, if you really want this to be a total reversal, need to see the bulls pop and close above 132.50, right? Need to see that pop and close above to reset the daily uptrend, and then they will recapture full control of all timeframes. Meta, give me 2 seconds. Meta, decent recovery day as well, guys, up 2.35%. So I'll remind you, last week, what happened is we lost our most recent weekly support, right? Doesn't mean that we can't reset a potential weekly uptrend here, but we did lose the most recent upswing. So on the daily as well, anything below 307 is just hunting for a higher low, potentially moving average resistance. A lot of these charts look the same. Resistance areas will be your daily moving averages. So anything under 307 is just going to be looking for a lower high. Depending how high we bounce, determines whether the bulls create enough space for a daily trend change, or if we top out tomorrow and then flush, well then I will not be surprised, because don't forget guys, on all these names, we are in a daily downtrend, and that's the most likely scenario. Getting decently right back at our previous support level, which is now resistance, this yellow line right here. So bulls challenging the most recent losses here, but you know, looking fairly decent on Meta. I really would like to see them get, if they can get up to these moving averages, guys, it'll take back a decent amount of the move. You can throw the fibs on all of these on the daily timeframes, right? Get back up to these moving averages. That'll be over 80% pretty much of the bear move. An 80% take back really does create some nice space for a daily uptrend reversal, or at worst, a tightening range and potential reevaluation to the up or the downside. But Meta here, decent area of recovery, still defending that weekly 12 EMA, right? Meta, weekly 12 EMA has been the area that you don't want to lose, and bulls this week, only one day of the week so far, but we'll see how it plays out. But if they can recover this 12 EMA this week, it'll be very big, if I do say so myself. Microsoft here with a decent bounce, guys. Here's what I mean, right? You can see that as the sellers come out, you see how these moves get smaller and smaller in relation to how they started, right? They just get smaller and smaller, and it kind of curves out to eventually, the guy that started the last down move here is all the way up at 325, right? Only one up day on Microsoft, not even a 2% day on Microsoft, right? And they capture it all back. So Microsoft, one of my prime candidates here for potentially engulfing our most recent bear move. If we can get over this daily 12 EMA, they will engulf the bear move, setting up some decent space, guys, for the daily trend change. That could be big. Microsoft didn't quite make it down to my sweet spot, but you see we got pretty close on Friday, 311. My sweet spot, 308 pretty much, all the way to 285. So decent level. Microsoft still offering some decent risk to reward at these levels, even though we are close to the all-time highs. Microsoft, in my opinion, over the next 3, 4, 5 years will be an outperformer. What were we looking for on the weekly? Well, tons of space, guys. Anything above 275 was just for your weekly high or low. Can it be set? Well, that's up to the bulls to see, right? Bulls have to prove the daily trend change. Only if they prove the daily trend change will I say that your weekly higher lows are potentially in. All right, let's move down to NVIDIA now. NVIDIA, disgusting day, guys, but the technical analysis we did last week was on point. The bulls with this move, this is exactly what I'm talking about. They created enough space to set up for the daily trend change. And they got it, right? So now you guys understand why creating space from the lows is so important, right? Because it's tough for the bears once the bulls have taken back all the move to make the move for the flush, unless the markets are really falling apart. And they were last week, but NVIDIA bulls playing some very good defense. So daily uptrend is reconfirmed for NVIDIA leading into earnings. But once again, guys, as I said, earnings going to be make or break for this stock. Don't want to comment too much on the technical analysis. 480 is going to be broken, or 404 is going to be broken to the downside, most likely. But now bulls have created a decent amount of space off the lows, guys. That is pretty much like 14%, right? So they would have to have a pretty disastrous earnings for us to flush these lows. But what could happen is we could come down here and set up for a potential daily downtrend once more in the event that earnings aren't all that and it drags the rest of the market down. But for now, guys, looking fairly decently. The bulls saved it. They saved it on the dollar, guys. I said that you can't lose 404. Look at these days. Right? Low of the day here was pretty much 403.11. So they lost it by $1 and then recaptured, right? That was a crucial level on the weekly to lose the weekly higher lows. The bears couldn't get it done. So the bulls maintained full control and now challenging to just maintain this weekly uptrend. Beautiful reversal by NVIDIA, if I do say so myself. Keep an eye on earnings, guys. Wednesday, make or break for this stock. And lastly, our last three, Tesla. All right, so Tesla here, beautiful bounce as well, 7%, right? After such an extended move down, we got exhausted, oversold areas. I was telling you guys, oversold on almost all our names last week, 4 hours oversold as well. Now, we have created enough space on the 4 hour that your most likely scenario becomes the reset of a 4 hour uptrend. That's step number one, right? So step number one, even if we pull back early tomorrow or early Wednesday, you're creating enough space now that you can potentially get a daily trend change. And that's what I'm looking for to take these covered calls off, right? Need to see them get as close as possible to 251. The last guy who started the flush of this zone right here, right? So we need to get as close as possible to him. Moving averages are acting as resistance. Now, it's still a daily downtrend. So the most likely scenario is still lower high and lower low flush, right? But we're in my sweet zone. We've been in the sweet spot here on Tesla. As I said, I was picking up some shares last week, did that. And I do have these two options that I've been rolling for about a month now at this point, right? So you guys see the reactions in these zones, crucial areas, in my opinion. That's why I labeled them like that. So need to see the size of the bounce. I want to see the bulls get at least up to 240 before potentially setting the lower high and potentially having a move for a new daily uptrend, right? So on the weekly as well, weekly bulls looking like they want to play defense in this area here, but still a lot of work to do, guys, to recapture this weekly uptrend. We'll take it one day at a time, but so far Tesla looking fairly decent. I like the space that they've created, and we're going to keep an eye on this one closely here. No longer oversold. Is it possible, right? Is it possible that we just end up with a lower high and lower low flush? Yes, but that's why it all depends on the size of the move. Need to see the bulls put in a bit more of an upswing, in my opinion, to really be quote unquote safe, right? To kind of set ourselves up nicely for the daily trend change. And lastly, our PayPal and Palantir. So Palantir, daily downtrend was confirmed, obviously. Now the bulls playing a decent amount of defense, not up too much today, right? But we're not still losing our 1360 key area. Why is that a key area, guys? Weekly. That is your weekly higher low, right? So you don't want to see the bulls lose that. Weekly consolidation still well underway. We're going to take this one day at a time, guys, but you need to start putting in enough space, guys. 1583, need to take as much of this move back as possible if you want to set up for the daily trend change. As of now, most likely scenario is just lower high and lower low for confirmation. And if we do get the lower lows, guys, we'll be flushing our weekly levels here, and it'll look like Tesla, right? We'll lose the weekly uptrend, and then the bulls will have a lot more work to do to set that weekly uptrend again. But on the higher time frames, just like Tesla as well, monthly bulls are in full control, just looking for the monthly higher low. So Palantir, I'm going to be patient on this one. I want this one, guys, as close as possible to $12, our 200 daily EMA right down there. Close as possible, 12 bucks. PayPal, not doing too much today, but Friday did have a beautiful little bounce day here off the bottoms. So PayPal, lower time frames, trying to set up the 4-hour trend change. That's step number one. 4-hour trend change means that your daily bounce is underway, guys. On PayPal, the levels here, 63.30, 63.50, need to put in enough of a move here, get as close as possible to this, set up for the daily trend change. PayPal down here offering some deep value, in my opinion, guys. We're pretty much at 2017 prices all over again, right? In the 50s. Very juicy risk to reward, in my opinion. Valuation on a forward basis, they're running at about 10 or about 11 and a half PE ratio on a forward rolling basis, not trailing. Trailing is still at about 16, which is super cheap, right? But on a forward basis, it's even cheaper. So need PayPal to start putting in more of a move to the upside here for me to figure out that we will be in the most likely scenario for a daily uptrend change. But as of now, guys, even though I'm in this stock, right, we're not going to negate the technicals. The likely scenario is just lower high and lower low flush, right? If the bounce tops up tomorrow, market rolls over, then we roll over as well on all these names. But as of now, guys, creating a decent little bounce underway here, need to see them get, potentially to our 12 EMA, creating that space really for the daily trend change. And then we'll take it from there, guys. We will be able to say that potentially a weekly double bottom is in at these zones for potential recovery, right? So decent day on PayPal as well. And lastly, we're going to go over my portfolio because we haven't done it in a few days, right? So portfolio, obviously, we got absolutely destroyed the past 2 weeks. I have a video on that, guys. I think it was last Tuesday, right? Where I had the worst single day performance in the entire year trading because everything in my portfolio fell off at the same time. Massive down days here. I had to close 2 losses, which I rarely close losses. I only close losses if my fundamental thesis on a stock has changed. And in that case, it did. There were 2 positions that I had to cut loose at pretty decent losses. So I did it right away, pretty much cut off the arm to save the body type of scenario. And obviously everything else, Estee Lauder, my banking stocks crushed. What else was crushed? Tesla kept outpacing my covered calls. It just kept dropping, and the covered calls, since I was rolling them, still had premium on them. So like the shares would drop by $10 a day, but my covered calls would only go up $7 a day. So I'd be just losing dollars and dollars trying to chase Tesla down, right? But now obviously it's all balanced out. So we're back to pretty much stabilization here. So as you can see, guys, we're up to but roughly 37%, right, versus the S&P, about 14% here. So still some decent performance on the year, and we are definitely going to get this account into recovery mode now that our positions are pretty much stabilized here, and that we're out of the massive drawdown period pretty much. Even if the stock market keeps dropping, our portfolio won't be as exposed as it was to get big drops like that. And I do expect to be able to recover this quite nicely for the rest of the year, guys. So stay tuned. Probably going to be able to go get 60-70% on the year. Wouldn't be surprised here. And still outpacing the NASDAQ ever so slightly here. 27% on the NASDAQ here, us up 37. So can't complain, guys. Decent returns here, even though I've made several withdrawals through the year. Several withdrawals here as well. I made a video on it. I said, guys, don't be surprised if you see the account drop. There's going to be a withdrawal. So I always let you guys know. So I've withdrawn probably a good like 12-13% of this account over the year, and we've taken some losses. There's been some periods of drawdown, and we're still outpacing the buy and hold indexes. So strategy works as long as you're consistent with it, right? And we're going to go into my positions now here, guys. So CSIQ, they have earnings tomorrow. So I'm all covered up here at 30. You can see the underlying price. I don't think that's correct, actually. The underlying price of CSIQ is 30.76. So you guys can see here that I was assigned at $35. My break even with everything together, the puts that I wrote, right? The puts that I wrote initially to get into the stock and the covered calls I've been doing for the past 3 weeks, our break even is now 32.09. Trading slightly below that now, 30.76, right? So we'll see what happens to earnings here. We do have good support levels coming up down here in this area. So not too worried even if it does drop, guys, but we're covered up. We got some good premiums on those. I did $1.35, right? 30.5, $30 calls here for tomorrow. Just want to stay protected. I know they're in the money, but you guys know how earnings have been this season, right? I'm not taking any more chances. If it goes up, perfect. I'll be able to roll and recapture some premium, but we're just limiting the losses for now until these earnings are through and our daily downtrends are through on the indexes. PayPal covered calls, still pretty much kind of worthless here. Wrote them for 47 cents. We're just farming premium at this point on PayPal, right? PayPal, I actually have to reduce my break even here by 47 cents. I didn't do that. So our break even is now closer to 66.12 is going to be the new break even. So still a ways away, but some decent premium farming here on PayPal for the week. Tesla, massive recovery here today, was all the way down to 212 last Friday, pretty much, guys. You remember this, right? Tesla last Friday was absolutely disgusting, right? And we were able to slightly recover intraday, and now today, big day of outperformance. But these covered calls were for this week, this Friday. And I rolled them on Wednesday, and by Friday, they were already near there. So it was down a lot on them, but you can see that conversely here, our Tesla shares were up nicely. So getting some good hedges in on Tesla. Really haven't lost too much money on Tesla so far. I think we're down maybe about $4 or $5 a share. So I'm just waiting for the daily trend change. If I can get the daily trend change, these covered calls are coming off and we are riding Tesla back up for another weekly upswing. We'll be able to really get some juicy performance on the account when that happens. New position for today, guys, the BABA calls, the BABA 90 calls, right? So they were assigned to me last week, right? So at $90, they're trading at 88.42. Today, what was I able to do that? So we have the BABA shares down here, right? 100 shares assigned at $90. I'm not too sure if you guys can see, apologize for that. So BABA shares were assigned here. You can see them right here at $90 last week. BABA trading 88.42. I got $1.21 premium for the 90 calls, right? So writing at the strike. So now our strike on BABA, as a matter of fact, our break even on BABA right now is, I got it right down here on the chart here, 88.24. So we're above our break even right now. So decent levels here for BABA. I like BABA at these prices. Obviously, they've been hit with the whole China news and stuff like that, but got a decent little premium here on BABA. So we'll see what happens with those. Our Estee Lauders, if you guys don't know what I did here, I don't know if I explained it too well, but let me just sort these by name, right? So Estee Lauder here, you will see that I have a 140 bought call and a 145 sold call because I knew they were going to drop on earnings. They've been offsetting each other perfectly since earnings. So I basically locked in a loss here of roughly $1,200 because my bought calls, right, are down obviously from 48 bucks and they came all the way down to 36 and then earnings happened and it dropped. So you guys can see that I sold these. I locked in the loss here. right? And we're going to wait for Estee Lauder, same thing. All I'm waiting for on Estee Lauder is for the bulls to prove to me that they can recapture a daily uptrend into a weekly upswing, and I'll take these, I'll take the covered calls off here, and we're going to ride the stock to the upside here. And lastly, our last position that we opened today is Nike 101s in my sweet spot, right? So Nike 101s right here, stock is trading at 102.86. This is my sweet spot area, okay? 104 all the way down to 99, right? So you remember when it was at 110, I was saying I don't want to write them because it's a bit too high, right? The 109s, 108s. Well, now we're writing the 101s. If I get a sign at Nike on 101, really won't be disappointed, and we will just play it for a potential relief bounce here. But Nike not doing too well on the day, so I was able to get some decent premium on them here, got about 55 cents for them. So our break even, guys, is going to be around, you know, $100.50. But we did get about 0.5% for those, so I'm pretty happy on that. So that's pretty much everything for the portfolio today, right? So we're still in patient waiting mode, waiting for our stocks to prove to us Tesla, PayPal, my CSIQ trade, Estee Lauder, even my banking shares, guys. You can see my banking shares. I have about $15,000, $16,000 of banking shares. In the last 2 weeks, right, I've lost pretty much, you know, 8% on those. So it does hurt, right? It's a couple $1,000 on that as well. So that's why, like, everything in my portfolio is just pretty much falling off a cliff in the last 2 weeks. Completely normal. It does happen sometimes. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. You just have to stay level-headed, keep trading the strategy, hold some buying power. I still have some buying power on the side, guys. I'm just not throwing it out until I can be able to get some decent recovery levels on most of these stocks. And then we'll start writing some things like some Apple, some AMD, some stuff like that, right? So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Keep an eye on the size of the daily bounces is going to be the moral of the story for this week, all right? So I'll see you guys after the close tomorrow. If you liked the video, if you learned something, consider dropping a like on the like button. It's free. Consider also subscribing to the channel if you're new. I'd love to have you here. I appreciate all your guys' engagement. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the comments. If you want me to look at a stock, my any options plays whatsoever, my, you know, analysis on something, or if you just have a question in general, guys, don't hesitate to ask me down in the comments. Take care, guys. I'll see you after the close. Peace.